miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop, bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed and you bounce off the next wall, and you bounce off the next and next and the next and the next. How much heat are you building up? How much friction is being built up from the interference in comparison to if it was just spherical, just going around? It would build up no heat. And if you allow it to be spiral, which my patent was talking about, that first patent was talking about, you're able to utilize all that energy so you don't need the cooling systems. You don't need all of this loss or entropy. None of that occurs when you go by universal standards. That's all they have to do is follow what the universe does. We have the contractive side, patented, ready and available. We have the expanded side, patented, worked out already, ready and available, and we've got the Constitution between the two of them.
But how does that affect in a practical use? If you're using math on a calculator, what is wrong with what the calculator is saying?
The calculator right now is still saying that we're on a linear path, and it's just multiplying things in a compartmentalized space.
So by reductionist viewpoint, by breaking things down to simple numbers, that you really can't just do that.
You can try to do it, but it's like the piano. Remember the piano, the earlier pianos, they had, before they compartmentalized and everything was, remember that everything in the universe expands as a sphere. Everything. Even music expands as a sphere. But what they did with the piano is they took all the 12 notes and then they just started them all over again instead of accounting for the expansion, that space. So you would never, if you're looking at the periodic table, you would never get to the titanium or to the rubidium or to the cesium because they would all keep it with just the 7 tones. They don't allow for the necessary expansion, so you don't have all of these other isotopes to use because they keep things here. You don't allow your child, nope, you're not going to get taller. I need you to stay just at 4 feet. That's the height. That's how high you can go. You will now be allowed to grow further. And we naturally keep growing and expanding out. So they have to allow that, but their math doesn't allow it because it believes in a 2-dimensional space. And remember, there are no 2-dimensional spaces because in order for anything to be perceived, it has to be measurable. And measurable needs 3 dimensions, but it actually needs 4. It needs your perspective. You are the 4th dimension, and that's what Walter Russell also talked about, that it was 4 things coming together. And that's what woke me back up, and I was like 4 bubbles meeting. But he still believed in the idea of straight lines. He was still hemmed in by it. And he's right, there becomes a cube sphere. There comes a point where everything comes together. But even, hold on, I'm going to try and pull up.
Is it because that we can create straight lines that we get confused?
We can't create it because even when you look at it under an electron microscope, you'll see all the little curved dots that make it up. There are no straight lines. Like if you look at this.
Right, even in a box.
If you looked at this, you'll say, oh, that's a square right there. Right in the middle.
Sure.
You'll see that square happening right there.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at it from the side, from its real perspective, you see that it's not. The straight lines are an illusion. Again, we are being fooled by our senses because there is no motion in a straight line. So all these homes that they're building, and they keep wondering, why do they keep blowing over? Why don't you make the homes look like a mushroom? Follow the curvature of nature, and you won't have to worry about rebuilding them in hurricane zones or in tornado zones. It'll go right over it. They don't make airplanes that's just a straight box. They've allowed it to be aerodynamic and curved. They moved away from the straight lines in that aspect. In boats, they don't have
we've been building our houses wrong.
Moving across like this. They don't do that. Like I said, no man would be attracted to a Cartesian woman, to a Euclidean woman. Something just straight like this. We need the curvature, like Alan Watts said. We need the wiggles. We like the wiggles attached to it.
Yeah, that makes sense about homes.
The wiggles.
Why do they keep making them flat when and they keep getting blown up. I don't know what the fuck.
Because they're easy to make.
They're easy to make, but it's easier to
Yeah.
make the curved ones. It would be much simpler to do it, but all of our technology is built on these bricks of the platonic solid. So now we have new building materials with what I've introduced. Entirely new building materials that we can use that have proven, and it's super symmetrical, that you don't have to just stay with the rectangle.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want, and you can produce energy. I want to show the magnetic field. We've talked about the electric field. Will you show the video for it's a light column?
Let me pause real quick. I gotta take a leak. Let's
Okay.
pause and we'll come back to that. So pick it up with magnetic field. We'll know what we're doing. Okay, where were we?